We're live. I got that one. Perfect. Darshan, welcome back to America.
America. But
How do you
here's
feel
my
about
question
the
for you.
country you came back to?
Here's my concern. I did not hear my walk-on music.
You know, do you want it?
Baba
You
Yaga's
know,
back.
they bring that song on for the Mets relief pitcher who's like intimidating as hell. Like he'll come out, he's the closer. What that means is they bring him in when they're up by one and they can't afford to let the other team score at all so that they win. So he comes in, throws those last 3 outs. I know it's tough for you to follow, man.
I'm with you. I was just like, you really do try. My lack of knowledge.
Have you ever been to a baseball game?
I have. I was so bored in like about 10 minutes. So incredibly bored.
Wait, but do you watch cricket?
No. God, no. I don't have the patience for that.
Because they are related.
They are.
They share,
I'm a
like,
fighter. I'll watch like jiu-jitsu and MMA and stuff like that. To me, that
you
stuff.
watch UFC?
Yeah, I mean, you know I'm a fighter.
Yeah, I knew that, but I didn't know you watch UFC.
Not enough because I don't want to do the pay-per-view stuff, but I love the fights themselves because it becomes so technical. I love that. Except for like the it's not UFC, but the Mike Tyson Jake Paul one.
Oh man, that was the worst fight of the whole thing. All the other fights were better.
Did you hear that? What's his name? Some of the Saudi billionaires came out and said, "I'll do $700 million if Mike Tyson can knock out Jake Paul in 3 minutes."
He held back, man. He held back, and then
back.
I'm sure they had unwritten rules like for amongst themselves that you can't knock each other out.
Actually, there was a written rule in the contract. Written? That's what I heard, at least. That Jake Paul's contract said that Mike Tyson cannot knock him out.
Yeah, because Mike, I saw him in that first round. After the first round, he had no chance because age, father time is undefeated. But yeah, in that first round, he had an opportunity. I saw him like let up a little.
Right, and I think that's what it is.
Yeah, maybe he's old, but no. If you look back, it's like he let up.
Here's what you know. So I'm a heavyweight fighter, right? I cannot think of a single. My fastest fight that I've won was at the national level. It was a 3-second fight.
You won.
I won.
I could probably lose in that same time.
Yeah, well, the other guy did, right? But the longest fight that I can remember was probably about 50, 60 seconds. Because when you're a fat guy, you're not hanging out there. Right. Like at the end of like a minute, and I literally mean a minute, you just want out of that thing. So, and now you take that and add in like 40 years.
Yeah.
That's the hard part. So these are two heavyweights.
Well, they both made the bag.
Yeah.
They both made the bag, and at least, having that record-setting audience. The other fighters on the undercards, which were actually great fights, got a lot of exposure and more followers and things like that. So it worked out for them. But yeah, and I didn't pay for it. I already have Netflix.
I mean, here's the thing. We had 2 heavyweights go there, and now we have 5 heavyweights coming into the Trump administration.
That's right. I was going to ask you, like, how do you feel now coming back from India? You've been following. You're a student of this.
I am.
This is your world. We're just living in it. There's been a new FDA appointee. I mean, what's been the most interesting thing so far since our last talk?
For me, Doge. Doge is definitely the interesting one. Because I don't know
Afuera with every department.
Tell people what afuera is.
It means out. Get outside.
Why?
We don't want it.
And who said it?
Javier Mele. So there's been I think it's must watch. I don't care what side of the political spectrum you're on. Hopefully you're moderates. Javier Mele did a must watch podcast with Lex Friedman recently. It's like a 2-hour long thing. And you learn a lot about microeconomics, macroeconomics. I mean, Mele is a student of economics, and what he did with Argentina is nothing short of amazing in like a year and a half since he took over, maybe 2 years. And why it's important to watch is because it seems to be the blueprint for what Doge wants to do. And I know critics are saying, yeah, but United States, not Argentina. Well, yeah, I know it's not because it's the United States, but why can't we use certain elements from that if it worked? Like the whole point of what we do in our industry is to test hypotheses, test assumptions. Why do new drugs come out that are better? XR now. Okay. Make it XR. I think
part of it comes down to the saying, which is when the US sneezes, the world catches a cold.
Sure.
So if that's true, and we decide, you know what, we're going to shut off the CPFB, which is what Elon Musk announced he's considering.
Tell people, normal people like myself.
See, hold on, I'm going to look it up. CPFB.
Even you don't know.
Dude, I don't know.
Yeah,
Consumer
get rid of
Financial
it.
Protection
If
Bureau.
even you don't know what it is, get rid
But
of it.
I'm not a smart man. I don't have to know about financing. So apparently it's a government agency that makes sure that you're treated fairly by banks, lenders, and other financial institutions. So
Fine.
My point is, if you're going to shut down CPFB, what are the downstream ramifications? What are the implications on not just fairness, but capital?
Well,
So
shutting down is one like extreme, right?
Okay.
I think if we just reduced waste in each of these departments.
Isn't waste in the eye of the beholder?
Waste is in the eye of our taxpayers, man. You know how much we're paying on that deficit a year? It's like $1 trillion just on the interest.
Oh, I'm agreeing.
So now waste becomes real. It becomes our taxes.
Oh, no. But I'm not
getting
saying
into forever wars as well.
No, but I'm not saying that there isn't place to cut. But I'm saying that, for example, let's make this up. Let's say we're going to go from the NASA budget is $2 billion. I have no idea what the budget is, but let's say it's $2 billion. We think that $1 billion is waste. Well, are we really qualified to make that decision on whether it's waste?
We're not. I don't think the average citizen is, but I think the average citizen elects representatives to be able to do that. And I think that's what they voted for.
Average representative qualified to make that determination?
At some point, the buck has to stop with the leadership.
Couldn't that be NASA itself?
Well, the argument is if you're like it'd be like letting a site audit themselves,
which we do. We do it every single day.
You self-audit, but then the FDA also comes in and says, "Well, let me be the judge of this one."
So what we're agreeing on is there should be a certain level of site audits.
Of course.
And then there should be someone coming in. But we do exactly that as we speak, because the federal government comes in as, for example, GAO spending. The Government Accountability Office does exactly what you're saying.
Yeah.
So what is Musk going to do that the GAO doesn't is what I'm trying to understand. What I hear, and maybe I'm wrong, but what I hear
what Musk and all of Doge are attempting to do is we're at unsustainable debt.
Yeah.
Government spending. If government's good at anything, it's in increasing its spending every year.
Sure. I'm with you.
It's not sustainable unless GDP grows at the same rate, which it's not.
Right.
So what Musk and them are doing is saying, hey, obviously we want to increase GDP here. That's offense. But the defense is costing us a shitload of money. And what are we actually getting out of it? We're not sure. Let's go in and look. What's essential? What's non-essential? How far has the complacency gone with these forever career people and lobbyists and industry?
But he can't cut back on lobbyists. That's not his money to cut back on that.
No. But when he's looking at the regulatory capture, private industry, and relationships with the public sector that are supposed to be the watchdog.
So we'll talk about the relationships, because I think that's a different discussion. I'll make a note for myself.
Sure, but it's all part of it. And Trump's first time around, his whole thing was, besides Make America Great Again, was drain the swamp.
Yeah, sure.
This was kind of the same thing they were alluding to.
My point is, if either Musk, and quite honestly, if Vivek came out and said, we're going to put people who are qualified to evaluate what can be removed, I would have a much greater sense of trust in it. What I'm hearing.
And hopefully that's what they do. I mean, what they say for Twitter is just kind of to get people excited. Like, hey, you voted for us. We're here. We're going to do our job. I think when push comes to shove, you're not going to do like Mele did in Argentina, because the United States is not Argentina. They're going to actually bring in people. But the impetus is going to be, we must reduce waste. Not it's nice to do it. We have to. We got to figure out where.
Now that I can agree with. It's all in how. So we can both agree that it needs to happen. What we're struggling with is how. And I think both of us, from what I can tell, are moderates, and we basically take the position that it needs to be done in a way that is the word's not intellectual, but considered in a considered way, where they've thought about the ramifications. And coming out on Twitter and saying we're going to shut down an entire agency is worrisome.
But where should he have come out? Because the media has not been very friendly to Trump.
No, I'm not saying that the
Or
Twitter
Musk.
part of it. I don't care about
Oh, okay.
where he announces it. I'm more worried about the is making an announcement like that helpful? Now he might say that in the back of my we have an agenda of 15 things we're going to consider.
Yeah.
And we think that there's waste in these areas. We're going to target these initially. To me, that's great.
I
But
think it's
shut
awesome.
down.
I
Yeah.
think it's awesome that they're using these platforms to communicate. I don't think any politician ever done that. Did you see Vivek's Instagram post the other day?
I did not.
Solid beach reading during Thanksgiving nap time. We're in it for the kids. And what he's reading is Options for Reducing the Deficit 2023 to 2032, Volume 1 and 2, Smaller Reductions and Larger Reductions. So, I mean, he's showing on Instagram, like, hey, we're here. We're actually looking at the stuff,
That's
like
great.
we're studying.
I'm
They're
all
not
for
just.
anyone saying we want to challenge the status
Mhm.
quo.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of let's do the status quo because it exists. That's crap. But I'm also
Right.
not a fan of let's change the status quo. To me, that's transparency for transparency's sake. Like that just increases cost. That doesn't help anyone.
Correct.
Do make every decision considered. Recognize what you're giving up and recognize what you're getting in exchange. And if you're doing that, fine.
And we are, I mean, to reduce the deficit, you are going to give up some things that most people would prefer not to, right? Or
That's
the
fair.
majority of people. And you're not going to make everyone happy either. Like
Sure.
there's careers on the line here,
Absolutely.
right? And I wish
So
I had
let's
this.
address that for a second. Let's address
Yeah.
that what you just said. In a time where there is joblessness, in a
Yes.
time where we're in the middle of a semi-recession, we can't use the term recession because I don't think
Right.
financially bears out. We're going to shut down entire departments. We also know that AI is coming in already going after people's jobs.
Yep.
Is now the best moment to be shutting down entire agencies?
Well, the counter argument would be, if not now, when? It's going to get worse if we do it next year, the year after, the year after. I mean, it's never going to be the good moment.
No, if you're in the middle of if there's a way of transitioning people from
Right.
inside to another place, I think
They're
that's a better
hoping
move.
that by reducing the regulatory burden for a lot of
Mhm.
industries, you're going to have private industry absorb a lot of the public sector,
At what pace?
not at the same pace they were hiring.
Right. And I think that's the concern.
Yeah. But that's happening. I mean, this reduction, right, is happening in the private sector. Look at what the
Yeah,
CROs all did.
I agree.
And
I
they don't
agree.
need a Doge to do it for them. They do it
Yeah.
themselves.
Yeah.
Like, hey, our US employees in this study startup bucket are not as efficient as, like,
Chinese
bang
employees.
for buck as
Yeah.
the ones in Mexico.
Sure.
The ones in Mexico speak English, same time zone, work for a fifth of the cost. Let's allocate. I mean, no one criticizes, or they do criticize them, but they do it regardless.
Mm-hmm.
So if private industry is already doing that,
Mm-hmm.
public sector kind of needs to follow suit. They can't just keep doing, as a matter of fact, growing bigger
Oh,
when everyone else is getting leaner.
I'm agreeing with you, but I'm saying that does it all happen in 4 years? Or
I don't know. That's the big question mark. I don't think
yeah.
any of us know.
I think Doge should exist as because if I remember correctly, Doge is only going to exist for like a year and a half or something like that.
Supposedly, yeah.
I would say that it needs to become a permanent department, and I think
You know how
that
many people would flip out over that?
it's a good thing, honestly.
Darshan's canceled. Doge should be permanent. That's the short. Let's end this stream.
Sure, I'm good with that, and I'd stand behind that.
I agree with you. I think it should be permanent too.
But I think it has two impacts. Number one, not everything happens today, which means that we can reduce the impact of everything on people.
Yeah.
And I think the efficiencies would be better considered because no one's going, you have only 60 more days to finish this.
Yeah. And honestly, the impetus for change should come at the individual level too. Like if you're somebody working in one of these departments and you've gotten very comfortable with the job and not much changes every year and not much is expected of you, honestly, just show up and kind of do your job. Sub-satisfactory is fine too. You've got to think about your future, like in a changing world. Like how are you improving your skill sets? Like, this is your job is a career. It's not just a job. And yeah, you've been a career government employee. What have you actually done personally to improve your skill sets during that time? And I think if people self-audited, their own skill sets and careers, especially in those kind of positions, I don't think anyone does. I think in private sector they do more out of necessity, but in the public sector, I mean, how many people actually self-audit their skills and how they're growing? And you know how many messages I get from people from academic centers or government agencies that want to jump to private and no one's giving them a call back? And there's a
Interesting. I didn't know
reason.
that.
There's a reason for that.
See, that's
That things
interesting.
move at a different pace in these government institutions. You're not required what is required of you in private industry.
So I have a different experience with that. I think in pharma and in law. Someone, for example, if you really want a good job in a large law firm, say that you did a year at the FDA, say that you did a year at the DOJ, say that you did a year at the OIG, you get bumped up. You did a year of doing a federal clerkship. You actually get extra money for that. Similarly, if you are a pharmacist with that type of experience and pharma wants to hire you, you'll probably get looked at better than other people. So my point is, I'm surprised when you tell me.
Probably at some of the higher level or higher educated positions. That's
Maybe.
true. There's not
Okay.
enough need at the lower level positions for private industry to say, hey, you worked at the FDA, we could use your
Really, I'm surprised by that.
expertise here. Maybe at the site level, like for some, but
But
even then,
I'd
how
say
many?
sponsor level and CRO level. Sorry, sponsor and CRO level. Absolutely. Like I would love to know if I'm
Sure,
bringing a new drug to market. I want to know
sure.
how the agency's looking at this.
But how many of those people do you need? Like, you don't need, let's say 10 got laid off. You're not going to need all 10.
A, a single company wouldn't, but 50 companies would.
Sure. And that's, I think, what the goal is of this administration,
Yeah, but
honestly.
now if you do instead of 10 people, 5,000 people,
Exactly. Yeah. I
that's
just
your
use
problem,
these numbers for scale, but yeah, you're right.
right?
You're absolutely right. And then, so if 5,000 people are let go, you need what? Like 500,000
And
companies.
those don't exist. You'll still have only 50 companies or
Correct. And
700
now
companies.
you're also competing with a global market,
Correct.
and you're also competing with AI coming up, which no
Yep.
one, AI is apolitical. Well, that's debatable, but AI is supposed to be apolitical and irrespective of who's
Unless
in.
it's Grok, right? You're using Grok.
Grok's, even Musk said it's not as good yet. It's like a order of magnitude less than
Oh,
ChatGPT. I'm using ChatGPT, but I do pay for X Premium.
I was going to ask you about that, by the way. Do you like it? Because I was trying to decide if I wanted to sign up for Grok, and I couldn't because I mostly wanted for the images, not for everything else.
No, I think you're better off with ChatGPT for
I already
now.
paid
I
for
do think
ChatGPT.
I think Grok's catching up though pretty
Okay.
quickly,
Okay.
and I do think you find a diminishing level of returns. There was actually an interesting article. I wish I had the name of it, but because of my ADHD, I just like randomly jump to topics. There was a LLM, learn language model
Yeah.
article where the pace there seems to be a ceiling on what the AI can actually learn and put out using LLM. Like
Oh,
there's a limit, and there's going to be a point where like more NVIDIA stacks don't produce more output. So at what point do you just stop? Right?
actually, did you see what? So the big problem that people are facing is twofold. Um, you need new language for it to learn from,
Mm-hmm.
and the
More
problem is
data.
it's just not being produced at the volume you need.
Mm-hmm.
However, and also copyright owners are saying you can't use our language right now. The problem you're facing is that well, there are two different solutions that I've already seen being impacted. The first one is Facebook came out and said that we are now looking at LLMs that don't need external data sources that they can learn off of themselves. So that should be interesting as we move forward. The second element of this is there's a company that I just saw announced yesterday, the day before. I may even have a copy of it. They are all they're doing is basically going to copyright owners saying, "Hey, would you like to be paid for your content? We'll set up the relationship." So ChatGPT, if you want to work with New York Times, you don't have to go strike deals with 50 of these companies. We'll do this 50 deals. You just come sign up with us. So I'm not sure that LLMs are going to stop improving. I think we're going to see better models come out overall, and that's where we are.
We're going to see paradigm shift. That was the whole point of that article, was the rate that LLMs have been progressing is not the same rate they're going to continue, nor would businesses be incentivized to continue investing in this current paradigm. But new paradigms going to have to come out. And that's kind of what Grok is, because Grok shares with Tesla, and Tesla gets imaging. So the Tesla AI, they don't learn by words, they learn by images and videos, right? And then they're going to incorporate that into Grok's existing LLM. So you can argue,
why are images helping Grok with writing, for example, in the context of writing?
Creative, well, probably not writing, but probably in terms of analysis and creativity and thinking more autonomously, like thinking more AGI kind of work.
Interesting.
That's just a different complete set of like a completely different set of data to analyze. But it's interesting. But point of all this is the people being laid off from government or private industry, they're competing against all of this. Like you're gonna have to learn how to be a generalist. I've been preaching this since I started this channel. I think generalists are completely underrated in this space. You're a generalist.
I am a generalist.
I mean, most successful people we know in this space are generalists.
So, one of my favorite things I read, and I still ponder this. You and I are example of this. We're generalists in that sense. But the interesting part that I see is people are going, you want to be a millionaire, diversify. You want to be a billionaire, focus and specialize. I think that's the difference. In the same way, if you want to be a generalist, you'll be very successful. But if you want to be an expert, you'll be very, very, very successful.
Well, why not both? Become an expert in a domain, be a generalist in others until you become expert in those other domains.
Harder to do, because if you're truly an expert, you're going to spend that time, that money, that energy.
Until the market shifts, because that's the risk.
Exactly.
And I think in this context, we're speaking about careers and safety.
Yes.
I think it's a better bet if you're going to go be a generalist, like learn. If you've been at a government agency, go find the small sites near you and try to get a job there as a coordinator.
I think honestly, you could be just a generalist in how the government works. Like here are the 19 people I had to deal with when I worked at the FDA. Here's how CDC came in and spoke to us, and like I think that'd be an incredible interview. By the way,
start a YouTube. I mean, they probably get sued their asses off, but
no, probably not. Not for
I don't know, man.
No, for just not. You don't speak about specifics, but you go, look, when we're talking about public health here, that to me, that's just transparency stuff.
Are you aware of any influencers from government space?
No.
Yeah, I think there's a reason. I think they're either afraid or complacent. Or
I was thinking someone who came out, and I was thinking about someone who worked for the government, then came out and having this conversation.
Sure, more like a whistleblower, or
no, not even a whistleblower. Like, what's his? I mean, you and I, Patrick Stone, for example, just for
Pat Stone's a perfect example, and he's become a generalist now. He's like quintupled his income since leaving the FDA.
But
he should be. Thank you for this, Pat Stone. I need to text him right after this. He is the blueprint for what, if you're a government worker that is about to be laid off or at risk of being, going through a downsizing.
Yeah.
Look at Pat Stone. Bubblegum badge. Look at what he's done.
Bubblegum inspector, I think, right? Or bubblegum
badge? No, bubblegum badge.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
That's a classic, man. I have it. I have it at my office. I have the coordinators read it.
Yeah, I read that every so often as well. No, I think Patrick's awesome, but my problem is what happens if 50 Patricks come out at the same moment. Patrick's awesome and made quintupled or whatever his income because
competition, man. Pat can't handle all the work he's getting. He hasn't figured out how to scale his business. That's like next level.
I thought he's
right now. We're just talking like protect your job, like replace your income. Next level is like scale it, build a business. But that's, I mean, hopefully this administration helps doing that too with reducing regulatory
Claire's
burden.
asking a question. Do we
Yeah, we
create
got some good questions.
Do we
Claire,
create
do we create wasted time and resources because we overcomplicate clinical research or cover your ass too much?
I don't think that's what it is. I think it's a combination of FDA requires it, but also investors are going, well, I want to diversify my bets,
Right.
and I want to know different answers. If this one fails, I want to have two other options because I can't just lose all my money because this one bet didn't pan out.
Claire, my opinion on this, look no further than take the same study even. Study XYZ at, I won't mention Yuma Clinical Trials because I don't want to show off, a private site in some community, and that closest academic medical center doing that study. Tell me who starts quicker, what goes on, what the budgets look like, where those, and then that's just from the sponsor perspective, right? The metrics. Now let's look internal. How much was spent on that study, expenditure wise? How many people, how many staff, bonuses, everything. You can start seeing the difference right away. Why? Because we don't get government grants. That's not our business model. Our business model is we do this study, we perform for the study. Very efficient. AMC's not the case. So even the same site, even the same study, different sectors of sites, completely different business model even. And that's, I think, the problem if we're looking in a petri dish of the bigger picture here.
So you want to pull up Helen's comment as well?
Helen, thank you so much for your comments. Go back and watch the West Wing episode, The Stackhouse Filibuster. Do you watch this, by the way?
I used to watch The West Wing. I love The West Wing, to be perfectly honest. But I don't know
think
that
I think I only seen one. Wasn't
Oh,
Captain
West Wing's
Kirk in
great.
it?
Was
Captain
that?
Kirk? Captain Kirk?
Why? No, it wasn't Captain Kirk.
Shatner?
It wasn't Shatner.
Then I watched something else. That deals with the idea of GAO and waste. What's GAO?
Government Accountability Office.
Yeah.
Here,
I mean,
I'll pull up something.
I guess they're going to be more accountable now.
Oh,
Granted, it's fiction, but it's an excellent explanation of all this. We should watch this together as Guru Nation.
oh, that'd be a fun one to do together.
Facebook used to have the watch parties. You could watch something together.
I'm gonna share my screen just so.
Thank you, Helen and Clara. We appreciate it. Keep the comments coming. Academic sites add on anywhere from 30 to 60% overhead to their budget, and that's just overhead.
Oh, I agree. I didn't know it's gotten 60. I've seen 30. I've seen 50. I don't think I've seen 60. That'd be crazy.
I mean, if you factor in, we haven't even discussed inflation. We've talked about headwinds as far as outsourcing, tech. We haven't talked inflation, which is the silent tax that's killing all of us.
Yeah, right.
That's really the macro reason why we're doing Doge.
Pull up my screen. So this is the Government Accountability Office, and they are doing reports and testimonies and stuff like that. So telework and private health insurances, these are the big things that they've looked at. Here's the highlights of what they found, what study they do. Here's the full report. Like it's all so to the point that Musk is making. This stuff exists. They're the ones who here, let's see if we can pull up one for Health and Human Services. Show more. Let me know if you guys see it.
Science and technology, I saw.
Healthcare. Let's try. Let's see healthcare. Okay. The rare drugs.
Looks interesting.
Here, this literally came out, I don't even know, like 2 weeks ago, a week ago. Steps to coordinate rare disease drugs. Might have to do a report on this. This would be a fun one.
Yeah.
Here's what the FDA is doing. Here's the study they did. Here are the concerns they have. Love that stuff. Cybersecurity.
Sure, and it'd be interesting to see what the concerns they have year over year, if they ever got fixed or they got worse.
I agree. So let's pick up. Oh, here we go. Let's see what let's pull up the full report just for argument's sake.
This behind a paywall?
No, it's all free.
You got it like that, man.
Tax dollars paid. Hold on. Patient engagement, leveraging strategies to help internal discussion forums, multiple layers of review. Here are the timelines. That's really good. Evidence building. Let's see. Variety, agency comments. Let's see what this is. Okay, no, nothing here. They have a variety of programs, many of which are just recently initiated. Let's see the table. Look at that. These are all the rare disease state programs. Like if you want to learn about this stuff,
Yeah.
The government's already written this out for you.
Honestly, rare disease is a really good example of probably worth spending money on. And you could
Agreed.
probably find for every initiative
And
like
here's the fun part. You can just do a one-page highlight. Here's what they found.
rare disease drugs. FDA has steps underway to strengthen coordination of
18 rare,
activity.
and here are the big
18
ones.
rare disease specific programs, most initiated since 2019. Right. So it'd be nice to see like follow the money trail. Like where's the money going? Which sites? I mean, sponsors do this with sites all the time. Like they don't follow their money, but they say, hey, you know what? We gave you like $5,000 for outreach. What
Yeah.
what did you do? Like what became of it? It'd be interesting to see if there is such a thing. There probably is, but then
This
if
could be a
there's
third one.
actual like consequences for
Dude, we should talk about this one.
yeah, we can do it. Like
This just came out not even that long ago.
I mean, we can go like piece by piece as Doge is actually doing theirs.
Yeah.
Kind of do our own mini Doge. Who knows? Maybe Vivek hits you up, Darshan.
Hey,
They
I'm
wouldn't hit me up. They I'm too generalist, but they would go with you.
that'd be a
Would you
fun one.
accept? Would you
Oh, hell
accept
yeah.
if
If
RFK
I
had
can
to be?
help, if I can help, I'd accept anything.
What if RFK had to be your boss, though?
If I can help, it all comes down to can I actually make an impact.
I think you could.
RFK hit me up
Yeah, Darshan's a huge fan.
of change because it's right.
Okay,
Ooh,
FDA appointment.
look
What
at
do you
that
know?
one. Gen AI and healthcare.
Dude, let's do all of these, man. We're gonna be doing regular fraud pods turned into politic pods. But what do you think
Challenges.
of the
Ooh,
FDA
here, look at
the
this.
new what's this?
The
Users in
challenges.
Gen AI. Gen AI models can generate plausible but inaccurate outputs, often called hallucinations. Yeah, I mean we know this.
My point is, they've identified these as being the 4 key ones. There are obviously several others.
Right. And there's even the question of okay, not just accountability.
Mhm.
There's this is September 9, 2024. Like
Yeah.
anyone who's been following AI knows even a year ago, 2023 hallucinations. So government just moves so slow. There's so many issues with this system. Like it's I'm
Post-market surveillance. Look at that. Sorry, we've gone down a completely different pathway right now, but this is a
yeah,
good one.
but everything you pull up, it's like, okay, this is a process issue. Why is it so slow? Why are they talking about hallucinations now in like September? This is everybody knew about this already.
No,
Why
but
do
they're
things
thinking
take so
through it.
long to get done and cost so much to get done?
What I like about this is that they're coming at it from the perspective of we're a nonpartisan group. We're not trying to. We're just giving. So if we're just giving you our opinions. We don't care whether you're Democrat, Republican. It doesn't matter to us. This is just our feedback on what we think.
Sure.
Which I think is how these decisions should be made.
I think it's how they should be made too. At the end of the day, Big Pharma is a huge stakeholder.
I don't care who goes down for it. To me, if we can actually make the process better, that's what we go for.
Well, and Big Pharma is not even losing much here. It's government departments that are potential on the chopping blocks. But what do you think of the FDA? I've been meaning to ask you this, and we never even talked privately about this.
No, what's
The new FDA appointee. I was meaning to buy one of his books and read it. He's an author as well. Johns Hopkins guy.
Yeah.
Do you know much about what's been going on there? Or?
I just know that he's not been a fan of the clinical trial disclosures. He felt like we need to do more, especially around COVID. I haven't followed him enough to be able to have a clear understanding. His name's Marty McCary.
What is his
surgeon?
He's a Stanford, no? Or is he? Wasn't he a Stanford professor and then Johns Hopkins investigator?
I'm pulling him up right now. When medicine gets it wrong, he's a British American surgeon.
I think this book's in my queue. I'm just reading like a lot right now, so I have very little to do with politics. By the way,
oh, he's got a bunch of them.
The price we pay, Mama Maggie, unaccountable. All right, maybe we can get him on the pod, man.
That'd be fun.
I'll reach out. I'll have my people.
Your people
Reach out. Lana, get ready. So what is your thoughts? Like he's against what?
Here's what we're seeing just based on everything he's got so far.
Yeah.
Let's see the books, right? It's blind spots, when medicine gets it wrong, the price we pay because the system's broken, unaccountable, what they won't tell you. Well, essentially, he's a guy who's coming in saying the system's broken, we need to fix it, which is really in line with what Musk is saying, what Vivek is saying.
Do you agree with that? that the system's broken?
Depends on which system. Actually, no, let's not.
Healthcare.
Let's not. No, I think overall, yes. I think overall the system is broken. I think that we, like for example, I'm a big fan of single payer. Most people would disagree with me on that. I'm okay with that because I think that as one of the largest countries in the world, we really should have a way of taking care of people's health. And people disagree with me, and I respect that and all that good stuff. But
I agree too. It's the problem is we can't pay for it yet.
we'll never be able to pay for it. Like you just said, sometimes the time has to come and we find a way to do it. If Trump is successful, then he's going to
It
find
opens
ways to
up
address
money. Exactly.
right.
Yeah.
But the question is, will we then spend that money, or would we say we're going to give it back to taxpayers? And I would say, again, it goes back to waste. What is waste? So to me, these are the types of questions we still have to wrestle with. And again, who in their right mind is going to say, oh, not everyone should have access to healthcare? What we're saying is, even if there's a certain cost, we're going to have to say no. But yeah, I think he's an interesting guy to have on there. I'm not completely convinced that I think he's a smart enough guy from the perspective of healthcare and having his personal experience. My ex-wife was a surgeon, and I don't know what qualifies her to talk about the microbiome. I don't know what qualifies her to talk about marijuana.
Sure.
I don't know what qualifies her to talk about GLP-1 drugs.
Sure.
Like, just because you have an MD after your name doesn't make you somebody.
But she would be qualified from a macro level to understand processes and understand.
Why?
Hey, we need experts that do deal with psychedelics.
Why? What makes her qualified?
Well, there's certain transferable processes across the same sector.
And I think that's the point I'm making. I think that you need to have a public health perspective, which I don't think just having an MD gives you.
I've worked at sites, right?
Yeah.
I can go, at least from a high level, at a biotech, and especially when it comes to like site issues, and contribute. Now, when it comes to managing vendors, I may not, but I know people who could. And I would bring them in and say, hey, you're on my team now. You're in charge of vendors. And then I bring someone else who's in charge of regulatory. That'd be you, by the way.
Thank you.
And then, so now we are qualified collectively, right?
But you're still making the decision, right? So in the end, let's say I come to you and say,
after I get a report from Darshan,
yeah.
What I think, man. Okay, I'm gonna defer to you. I picked you. If it fails, I did a poor job picking you. I need to pick someone else.
Conceptually, yeah, but I always thought of the Surgeon General. I always thought of the head of the FDA as someone who already has that expertise, and I'm not seeing that in him yet. That's not to say he's not qualified. That's to say, I'd like to have people who have that perspective. And maybe he'll build that perspective. By year 4, he'll definitely be qualified. By year 1, he'll definitely be qualified. And maybe that's what you need. Maybe you need a fresh pair of eyes. My concern is we have a lot of fresh pair of eyes. We don't have enough. We've done this. Whether we're talking about Vivek, whether we're talking about Musk, whether we're talking about RFK, they're all fresh pair of eyes. You need something to balance that out. Who are they?
Correct. Yeah.
So I don't know yet.
It's all about the team that you put together, right? And someone ultimately has to be responsible.
Right? Yeah. But how do you balance the team of we're going to change everything with here's why the process exists right now? Like one of my favorite things about why a lot of a lot of IT companies fail, a lot of software companies fail is, and you've seen this, they'll come in with, we're going to change the entire clinical trial process. And we're going to do this, and we're going to do that, and we're going to do that. Well, do you know why the processes exist right now? No, they'll just change it. No, they won't. And I think that's the problem. You need to have a clear understanding of what today is to be able to say, here's why tomorrow's better. And I'm not seeing enough of that yet. But I do need to jump off actually for a client meeting after this. But
yeah, we got plenty of cliffhangers here. I mean, I think that GAO website is a gold mine. Yeah. For our content. Helen says, I don't trust that those 3 will put together that proper team.
I hope that they do. In the end, I think we're all hoping for a better tomorrow.
Who's the current team like, and how good are they? Because things are not. I think if you ask the majority of Americans, things are not good, and especially in healthcare.
Would they say that?
Yeah. Have you gone through LinkedIn and seen everyone complaining about the
Well,
industry?
people complain, but the question is it working? I think if you get anyone together, people will complain. That's a given.
So if this is true, and this is just the overhead, it's currently not working for government, for taxpayer money. It's currently not working in the
Why do you
context
say that?
of the waste here. If it's up to 60,
But why
we're
do you
on
think it's
the
waste?
okay. So a private site can do this at like the lower end of this spectrum.
Oh, that's what you mean. Okay, you mean from the perspective of because you could, but
Because in
you
the
aren't
context of
running.
waste, we're talking about national debt. I mean, it all boils down to
Okay,
we're all paying for it. We're
that's
paying
fair.
for it in money as
Yeah,
far as taxes, and we're paying for it as far as the quality of service that we put up with. Has anyone gone to a county hospital lately?
I have not.
Yeah, me either, because we're privileged.
Yeah,
But there's people that's their only option,
yeah.
and the healthcare is shitty that they receive. And so I don't trust these three will put together a proper team. Well, the current proper teams for the last 20 years have also not been proper if this is the outcome we're getting. When push comes to shove, what's the outcome? Forget about the words and everything and the rhetoric, diversity, all that. Okay, nice. What's the outcome? Like, what are we? When I'm
I'm,
sick, what happens?
I hope we. I don't. I never root against people because to me that's not helpful. If something, the proof is in the pudding. Let's see what he puts together.
Yeah,
What they put together, I guess, in this case.
maybe you'll get the call, Darshan. RFK, look, hit me up. I got Darshan's good for you. Hit me up.
Yeah, you know what?
I saw
Talk
you
to them,
frying
Sarah.
your turkey, deep frying your turkey. You know, people were complaining that you're that's dangerous, but Darshan, he's got you, man. Pharmacist and attorney.
An attorney. There you go. Mr. Safara, this has been a pleasure as always.
Yes, very much so.
We're gonna try to do these more often.
We got plenty to discuss. We barely scratched.
We
the
didn't touch
surface
anything,
on-
did we?
Yeah, we just kind of talked in high
Yeah.
level about everything. But like,
You
subscribe, comment, share,
gonna
go
put my
connect with
music
Darshan.
up?
Yes, like, subscribe, comment, share. Go hit up Darshan. His LinkedIn is underneath the podcast show notes and in the YouTube. Bye bye, Darshan.